The book of Galatians was a letter written by St. Paul around 49 AD. It could have quite possibly been Paul's first letter. In this book addressed to the Galatians, Paul deals with false teachers as well as the problems of circumcision and Jewish legalism towards Gentile believers. Paul likely wrote this letter to the people and churches in the south of Galatia. These people were recent converts from paganism, and they were confused as to the practices of the Christian faith due to influence of Jewish and Mosaic laws. Paul wrote this letter in an attempt to fix the situation in Galatia, a Roman province. He wrote it to show his beliefs on how the Bible should be interpreted and of morality. To simplify this, Paul broke up his letter into sections. He first addressed the people and churches of South Galatia. In chapter 1, he explains the importance of being loyal to the gospel, which means to have faith. In chapters 1 and 2, Paul defends his gospel and his authority. People also tried to undermine Paul's authority by saying he did not learn from Jesus himself and that his gospel did not agree with that of the real apostles. But here Paul defends himself. In chapters 3 and 4, he discusses faith and liberty. He further describes how important it is to have faith over all other things. In chapters 5 and 6, he explains and gives examples on how to live a Christian life. The main theme of Paul's letter to the Galatians is justification by faith. Paul defends his belief in doctrine throughout his writing. This doctrine is the heart of his gospel, and he defends its theological as well as its practical ramifications in many verses. For example, Galatians 3:11. In this verse, Paul describes how it is through faith, not the law, in which we are justified in God's eyes. He shows that we should do what we know to be right, as it is more important than the laws, and only through faith can we justify our actions. Here he defends the theological ramifications by showing that it is another necessity. Another verse is Galatians 5:14. Here Paul expresses that it is more fulfilling to show love and mercy than to follow the law. Here he defends the practical ramifications of justification through faith by saying that justifying your faith through your loving actions is more important than the law. In Galatians 5:16, Paul explains how it is important to have faith and believe that the Holy Spirit is always with you. He explains how having faith is more rewarding than any possible things on earth. The theme of justification by faith is still in the church today and can be seen several ways. For instance, movements to stop abortion, backed by the church, shows our values as Catholics, as we believe that taking the life of an unborn child is morally wrong. We justify this through our faith, that God made everyone and gave everyone life for a purpose. Although justification through faith has many positive connotations, like Catholic high moral standards and our call to help those in need, it can also be used negatively. An example of this would be the group in Paul's letter trying to persecute Gentile converts, or an example of how ISIS today and how they use their faith to justify their atrocities towards Christians.